Good evening, my listening friends, and welcome back to Talk Radio. Let's Talk Radio with a Y, R-A-D-Y-O, with Robert Vaughn and our other hosts, Mike Shomo and Verl Majid. As you know, we cover a variety of subjects from politics to business to cryptocurrency to economics and many in between. Today, we have a very good show and we have a very special guest. Today, our guest is J.L. Davenport, who is a resident of South Africa, Cape Town, South Africa, who's originally from Cleveland, Ohio. And we're going to talk about some business opportunities, some of the economic opportunities that exist in Africa. You know, as you know, people have been going to Africa trying to make money for ages and ages, and things are changing a bit, in many countries in Africa, they are not so accepting of foreigners coming to exploit the country as once was the case. And I think three of us who live in the United States are living proof of how the country got exploited, But we want to talk to JL about some business opportunities in Africa. Africa is the largest continent. It's several different countries. And if you look at it on a map, it doesn't give you a true depiction of how large the continent really is. For instance, if you look at a map of Africa and Greenland, it has Greenland about the same size as Africa, where Greenland is about the same square mileage as South Africa. As a matter of fact, you could fit Europe, the United States, Greenland, China, and Russia into the continent of Africa and still have some room left over. So it's a huge continent that isn't always depicted correctly on maps. So I just want to get that out there. Mike, Verl, Mike, I'm going to have you lead off with a question for a JL or maybe a statement, and just kind of let him talk to us about the opportunities that might be available there for someone. Mm-hmm.
Hello. First of all, Bill, you told me several years, about 30 years ago, about coming to Africa to open stuff, and it said it was like going back in time with the knowledge that you have now, going back to the 50s. Can you explain that?
You know what? Thanks, guys, for having me on. I do appreciate it. It's a great opportunity. It really is, especially with the way things are going now, and opportunities are just getting bigger and bigger. I would like to say that I didn't come to Africa, the continent. Started in Senegal, went through West Africa, down the coast from Nigeria, because I lived in most of those places. I didn't come here looking for my roots. Sorry to say, people are thinking I came here for my African ancestry. Unfortunately, I didn't. I came as a trade specialist working for a Black company in Cleveland, Ohio, called Third World Marketing. There were about 20, 30 of us working there, and I think I'm the only one left. Most of them died and went into other businesses. So when I got into Senegal, which was my first stop, I thought when I got off the plane, I was going to see a lot of giraffes and elephants and all that nonsense that we hear on the news and TVs, folklore about Africa.
Tarzan.
When I got off the plane, I spent maybe Tarzan. I spent about 2 years in learning French. The company I was working for paid for French tutors. I was actually quite good. And so when I landed, nice airplane, I'm wondering when I got to JFK, because we flew out of JFK. And previously, you never see Black people in the airport in the quantities that I saw in JFK. And I was like, I had never been out of the country. And when I saw the airport, JFK, I'm wondering, where are they going? When you look at the screen, you see the whole world on there. And the only time you see so many Black people traveling is when they come into Africa or going to India. And when I landed on a plane was 1978. I was really a young guy in 1978, very impressionable. Got on a plane, we landed. It was an amazing flight. I'd never been on a plane that long. I was very inquisitive. So when I landed, got off the plane, and all I saw was Mercedes, BMWs, and Peugeots. I saw a lot of Black people, and I didn't go there looking for safaris. I came there on business because we were doing an international trade fair. And the company that I was working for in Cleveland, we were involved with finding Ohio, and we were working with companies like John Deere, Roanoke. We were in the Carolinas. We had companies from Ohio. So we represented them in trade fairs. We had brick making machines, fire extinguishers. We had chicken in the can. We had 15 different products. When we got to the trade fair, it was all in French. My French was good, but it wasn't that good. That was the first time that someone told me about containers, metric tons, grams, how they sell things. And the first 6 months of me working for this company, I learned what containers were, but to see them in action, wow, what a mind blower. That was in 1978. I had just come out of retail. I worked for the top men and women's clothing company. And no one told me in high school, none of my friends, none of my teachers, no one in college knew anything about export. And that trip sparked me like you wouldn't believe. When we got back from Senegal, I was there for a month. When I got back from Senegal, I upped my French. The company sent me back to college to learn about international finance. I learned about trade. I learned about shipping. I never knew. I'm looking at the TV, and I knew half of the containers that's on those ships, and the ships that's stuck in the San Francisco and in the South. I know those names because I've been working with them over the last 40-something years. And I got motivated. The company I was working for, they did some work with the OAU at the time. Now it's the African Union, Organization of African Unity. We did some work in Liberia. We did work in Ghana. And the further and the longer I got into the fabric of Africa, the motivation to be there to make money was just incredulous. It was phenomenal. And you're talking 1978, and the date now is 2021. So you can see that the grass doesn't grow on a busy street. One of the guys that ran the company, Joe McBride, personal friend of mine, he died in 2018. I was on my way back from Cleveland going to Indonesia and then into Dubai. And I didn't come to South Africa till, I don't know, about 3 or 4 months later. And I found out when I landed in Indonesia that my best friend and leader that taught me so much about international trade, and you have to be skilled. There's so much information that people that look like us don't know about and don't have. When they travel, they want to go to Africa, they leave America, the first place they go is on a yacht to eat for 7 days. So I've never been on a cruise, and I've never been to Jamaica. I've been to the Bahamas for recreation. But my first experience with what I learned in Cleveland was international trade, which is what you guys want to talk about now. So I've been living and working somewhere in Africa for the last 41 years.
Okay.
As
Verl,
a trade specialist, trade consultant.
Okay. Verl, you got a question for JL?
Yeah, actually I do. I have actually kind of two.
Okay.
Out of the number of countries that you visited in Africa, what made you choose South Africa to like be your base?
Easy question. And when you come here, most of Africa that I've been to, some amazing people there. I came here because of the infrastructure and finance. Number one, infrastructure and finance. South Africa has some of the world's best banking structures. They're bitches when it comes to finance and banking. You can't, these people, they have some of the best accountants and then the best hospitals on the continent of Africa for old guys is South Africa. The world practices, in Atlanta and Johannesburg, over the last 50 years, Johannesburg and which is in South Africa, obviously, and Atlanta, Georgia, were the biggest trauma centers in the world. So they had people from all over the world coming here to practice medicine. When you got a lot of bodies here to practice medicine. And the flights, West Africa, when you book a ticket, when we were deciding to come here, you book a ticket, 300 seats, for example, we're on big jumbo, 747, before the jumbo. And they oversold the tickets. There's 300 seats, we get 300 seats sold, but when we get to the airport, there's 500 people. And we line up on the tarmac and we run to get our seat, even though you have a ticket. That wasn't exciting at all. When I was flying into Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, that was, kind of the mood that time. And when I flew into South Africa, which wasn't until 1987, it was like flying to Joburg, like flying to New York. Everybody stood in line, did what they were supposed to do, sat in their assigned seats. There was no hustling at the airport. So then when I came in South Africa in 1987, I realized, damn, we got lied to, because South Africa didn't look like it did when What's the Word Johannesburg was singing about it. Mm-hmm. And you got a chance to see infrastructure. I felt like I was in Florida, New York, Chicago. So that was the motivation to stay here. I didn't know much about the other places that I was working and living. I was in New York when Mandela became president. And I came back, and the people that Mandela spent his first dinner with were friends of mine. And I actually you guys back?
Yeah.
Are you back?
I was here. Your image froze for a minute.
Yeah, froze for a
minute. Yeah, story of my life.
But you know what? Let's talk a little bit about economic opportunities.
Did I answer your question, Verl? Verl,
hey,
I answered your question.
Yeah, you did the first one. Hey, Robert, before we go into that, let me just ask him one other quick thing. Since we're talking about economic opportunities in Africa, let me ask you, what do you think of the top, say, 4 or 5 countries for African Americans to do business in Africa in? What would be the top 4 or 5?
All right. Computer's now reloading, by the way.
Okay.
It's restarting. So let me say it this way. If you don't mind, I'll do this way. I'll be very brief. South Africa is the gateway to the rest of Africa. People from all over Africa come to South Africa for products, for legal advice, international trade. It starts here. And from here, they move out. Now, I caution listeners from saying the word come in here for African Americans, only because Africa looks at you as a businessman first, unless you're a celebrity. And if you're a business person, they're highly interested in you. So if our target market is aliens and Martians, if our target market is Germans, and in this case, African Americans, I would say that any part of Africa that has access to the US dollar, I would say that most of Africa needs housing, infrastructure. The ECOWAS is the Economic Community of West African States. And it also has to do a lot with how much money they have to invest, which is a subject on my list. So if they have money, we use this thing as a barometer to answer your question point blank. Their pocket determines where they will go. I use the barometer of proof of funds and proof of product. An investor needs to have proof they got money, and they don't have to have the expertise. If they want to invest in housing, if they want to invest in property development, housing, building, I'll discuss that a little later. So it really depends. As we go on, maybe there's another question. I'll add different parts to answer a longer term question that you've asked me about the best place to go. A lot of it has to do with money and what they really want to do. You can't come over here. If you want to just give money away, you can go anywhere. There are a lot of starving people here, like they are in Philadelphia, New York, and Cleveland. So you don't have to go far to find starving and hungry people.
We ain't got to cross the borders, huh?
Yeah. Okay. In terms of, I think when most people look at doing business away from their home country, probably one of the first things they look at is, what sort of business climate is there, and will my money be safe, and what kind of return can I get? So looking at those three parameters, what would you say? Would you say housing is probably the number one investment opportunity in many of the African countries?
Let me explain it to you this way, since you'll have other people listening. I know a lot of people in America that bought houses on 3 and 4 mortgage companies about, 7 to 10 years ago, when Americans were buying property from everybody. And then they had the foreclosures coming, right? People lost millions of dollars. When 2, 3 of the top money managers, money marketing companies went belly up. Lots of people invest in property in America, invest in businesses, and they die. They don't cry and say they lost money in Africa. South America, people go to South America to buy everything, and then they lose money. Let me rather say it this way for your listeners. Housing, use South Africa as an example. If you built 20,000 houses for the next 30 years, you couldn't scratch the surface in South Africa. The housing need is giant. Because remember, you got people coming from smaller areas. Now they want their own metropolitan areas. Just remember that South Africa is 40+ million people, and not everybody lives like you do in America. They got millions of people wanting a house with hot water and electricity on paved roads. You go into places like Nigeria. Nigeria hasn't had power since the British left. 95% of the day in Nigeria has no power. They need houses and they need roads. Look at some of the movies. So if we're talking about property, sorry, say that again.
The power plant too.
So let's say this, there's a couple of guys trying to start solar farms. Well, guess what? Nigeria tries solar farms, and if you try to bring solar into East Africa, you got a big problem, because solar means nobody paying the illuminating company, nobody paying money. You can't go into a country and say, we get ready to cut out. You're making your money to travel, buy houses, and pay for elections. That's money. Speaking of elections, you got to have money to run an election. And if you got solar on 5 million houses, where's it coming from? So sometimes when you make an investment, you want to get into a business, you need to maybe speak with someone who has a background in a particular market, in a specific subject. So if you can build, for example, in South Africa, they need 400,000 beds for students. They divided the number they need $1 million for the police and the military, school teachers and union. Now, if you have proof of funds that you have money, your bank has a document that says you got 10, 15, 20, 30, $40 million. You want to invest in these subjects with these parameters. It's incumbent upon the people that you bring on as partners to prove they have reliable, viable products and projects. You can't come with your Western mentality about how things are done here. I've had too many partners that that's why I don't have any here, because they bring America here. You can't bring America here. You can't bring Italy here. But there are a lot of Europeans who know Africa like America knows South America. So there's a lot of alternative building products. Now, remember, because Africa has almost 2 billion people, doesn't mean they got 100 million people that know how to build houses. So there's a skill challenge. There's a material challenge for where to get the material. Nobody wants to buy from China, but South Africa manufactures a lot of their own stuff. So when someone wants to do a proper business, they put a proper proposal together, they first must prove they have money. Not go invest it with somebody you don't know because he can do an African dance. Well, no, you don't come here looking for a kente cloth. You want to come here to make money, you come here with your business mentality. Also, there's a lot of opportunities in mining. Some of my clients in Zimbabwe and places like Sierra Leone, places like Ghana, Nigeria, they have, in Zimbabwe, for example, iron ore. You can invest into an iron ore. They got stockpiles. My clients got 500,000 metric tons of a stockpile of excellent iron ore. Now, how does a boy from Cleveland went to East Tech know anything about iron ore deposits and a stockpile and how it's sold and done? The Chinese, the Saudis, the South Koreans, they need steel. AU is gold. All of your cell phones, all of your laptops and TVs at home operate with about 7 to 8 karat gold in the machine. The cell phone that you have, that material doesn't come from China, it comes from DRC.
Congo.
Central Africa produces all the minerals. So you come to Africa not to go on a tour, you come here for business, and you must liaise with people that are in the industry, and you don't waste your money. I mean, look, how many people have spent money? I got guys that want to get in the diamond business and they give up $1,000, and you would think they gave up $1 million the way they chasing $1,000 or $200 or $900. So the opportunities exist here. You know, you got $5 million you want to invest into mining. What a waste of money. Why would you spend $5 million to mine? Because you're going to have about half of that in mining equipment. The earth movers are about $100,000, $200,000 a piece. So mining in diamonds and gold is not the best place to go if you only got $5 million. The other things to invest in to make $100 million. So,
Hey, JL, what do you think would give you the best rate of return in the quickest time? If a person has,
housing,
say, 10 or 25 million.
Housing.
Did you hear my question? Housing?
Okay. Yeah,
housing.
Yeah. Also,
the demand is
you
so
see,
big.
in housing, yeah, the demand is there, and you have what's called supply side economics. Just Google that word. I hate to use that word, however, Google is the way to go. I go to meetings and people want to tell me 40 years of experience, what they read off of Google, and they just knew how to spell it. However, if you Google supply side economics, that's what South Africa is looking for now. For example, we're going to build 400,000. You know, we can never build 400,000 anything. You can probably get away with 5,000 houses a year. So if you got money to put up, you put your $40, $50 million in a bank in New York, and we'll get the South African government, the Nigerian government, Zimbabwe to give us a sovereign guarantee on your 50 million, and we'll get a bank to carry the note. Then we can start developing. We reskill, upskill, put people to work. The Americans and the British business partners, South Africa, put about $300 million in here in the last 20 months while people were struggling on COVID. They get ready to build massive apartments and entertainment facilities. The U.S.
Jazz, you know what they got? They're going to need a lot of infrastructure, you know, like you were saying.
And they don't look like us.
Yes, they're going to need a lot of infrastructure, like roads and, you know, pipes and things to run the oil and electricity and what have you. You know, so that's going to take some time, won't it?
Well, listen, I'll look at it this way. There are a lot of apartment buildings here now that need to be restored. And South Africa has one of the best infrastructures. When you get a sovereign guarantee or you're involved in places like Nigeria, Ghana, they don't have the infrastructure the Europeans built here. Even though they're old, with a lot of technology, you can build, you know, 1,000 houses at a time, because the first thing you do, your government has a lot of land that's been identified for development. And there's a lot of those around. There's a lot of old apartment buildings you can restore and put students in, you can put people in. And government is your customer. When you build 1,000 houses, I mentioned before, one of my homeboys came to Africa to cry. And I'm thinking, wow, why don't you build 3,000 houses and sell it back to government because they're ready to buy it? You know, if you sold each house for $100,000, you can make your money back. So you build, because the way it has to work now, you have to, government wants you to put 10% down on building services, putting in the plot, the services, meaning the electricity, et cetera, the infrastructure, toiletry, wet water connection. If you could put 100 down, 10%, they lock it down, they protect it for you. You put the infrastructure down for 100 houses, you put the houses on the top, and you sell it. You can pre-sell houses in South Africa. And in places like West Africa, they pay cash for their houses. The banks don't finance it. They pay cash for those houses, but they built it themselves. So if you got $50 million, you want it to grow. So you put it where it could grow. You don't put it anywhere where it's not going to grow. But there's a lot of opportunities in places like Ghana. A lot of people want to do mining. Well, mining is cool. If you want to do mining, that's great too. There's ways to do that. You don't go in the ground, you go into a vessel. You know, it costs about $70,000 a month to put a vessel in the water from government to give you a permit to prospect. That's also lucrative, very lucrative. Yes, sir.
I just read an article.
Yes, sir.
I just read an article about a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about how people are just, you know, looking for diamonds and stuff, and they go over looking for diamonds, and people that are there are finding diamonds, and the government is saying that when they find a diamond, the diamond is not theirs, it belongs to Africa, and taking it from them. Okay, so as far as people picking up diamonds and digging for them, you know, how does that work? You know, what is the negative?
Well, you know, ignorance is always the negative side for everything, and so is propaganda in the news. You have to apply for a prospecting license. Let's say you find land that you want to mine on, so you apply for a prospecting license on, say, 10 acres. So you start digging, you bring your own equipment, they give you permission to dig. You pull out 100 pieces of stuff that look like a diamond and you find out it's a crystal. You dig and you find something that looks like a diamond, they come out and say, yeah, it's a diamond, but you bring in people. So you have to pay the taxes on those stones that come out of the ground. And the only thing you can take out of the ground are diamonds. You can't take rare earth minerals, you can't take any other stone out. You'll go to jail. The laws are very strict here on this part of the world. Sierra Leone, the Chinese, and Belgium, A lot of countries go into those places and exploit the people. They pan them. You see them in these little lakes. I'll send anybody interested the pictures of people in the lake falling, dying, panning, like you see in the movies, that movie with DiCaprio. There's a lot of truth to that. But if you do it right and you do it legally, you can make a lot of money. And if you find a diamond in South Africa or Nigeria, of course, it belongs to government. If you find a diamond in Texas, it belongs to the Texas government and the United States. You can't take that diamond out without paying taxes on it. Same thing happens in America for gold. You need a permit to mine gold in the United States. So same with oil.
What if I just
I came to South Africa with a black oil company from Oklahoma. What's that?
I was gonna say, what if I just
What's that?
stuck the
Say
diamonds?
that
What
again?
if I just
What is it?
I said, what if I just took the diamonds and I stuck some in my pocket and I gave Burl some to stick in his pocket? And we said we didn't find any. Because I'm sure that all the diamonds that come out.
Well, when you get to the
do they really, guarantee, or they really examine and stay there and watch people to make sure that everything comes out gets accounted for?
you know what technology looks like, huh? Get
Yeah.
your behind at the airport, because diamonds fluorescent. If you got them in your pocket or in your stomach, it's not like they got these brand new electronic sensors, they're scanners. They can see what you have in your stomach and your bum, your ears and your neck.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So you can't walk
Burl, we
out of
better
here
go to
unless
plan
you have
B,
a
man.
permit.
I have to go to plan B.
That's what the article was about.
No, you can't walk out of here with those. However, yeah,
Mike,
Yeah, just so,
yes, sir.
I said, that's what the
I just
article,
wanted to ask you, were you gonna say something, Mike?
yeah, I was saying,
Or
that's what
somebody-
the article
I'm
was
sorry, I don't hear you.
about people just finding diamonds and picking them up. But my thing is that even if you find it,
Question?
you have to find out, like who's going to pay for this? Who's going to give me the money for these diamonds? How can I prove that it's a diamond? So that's what the article was.
I want to tell you, maybe I can tell you a quick story about, it's really short. My South African daughter and I, when we talk to people from the US, they come here. I'll just give you a quick example. We tell them we're trying to leave here, but it's always a challenge to find a pet. When my daughter wanted a pet, we asked her which one she wanted, because we have to find a place to put the pet when we travel. And so after about 10, 15 minutes, they asked her, what pet did we settle on? We said, we got her a pet giraffe. And the pet giraffe, we always have to find a place to put the pet giraffe, and we have to be back before it grows. So, that was just something silly, because when you're talking about Africa, for some reason, common sense is gone. If you're in the United States and you find any of those metals in Texas, you don't fly out of the country. You can't do that. They'll flag you at the airport too. However, there are gemologists here, professional men and women that you must hire to assist you. And I would recommend you work in a structure. I'm busy with some clients now who want to do marine mining, and they put themselves in a prospecting protocol. Then when COVID came, it went sleep for 20 months. So I think they're going to reactivate it. So you get a prospecting license. You need you need a place where someone has already mined it out. You send some divers down there. You pull it back out. Government is there waiting on your behind to come out. If you bring out 100 something, they inspect it. And if it's nothing that you have a permit for, they make you throw it back in the water. If they catch you, you're going to go they're going to send a boat to pick your behind up, take you straight to prison. They're very serious about that. Meant that you must follow the law. The officers have to have a safe in it. They have to take a class. So some of my clients, they have permits to mine. They have small mines that can produce about 500 or 600 carats a month, but they need the money to put a vessel in the water to pay for the diesel. It's not a joke. It's real money here. I recommend marine mining. The other types of mining is quite difficult because you have to pay for a place to store your product. So it's very profitable. Most people want to do that. Platinum mining, you can't get close to it. You can't get near it.
Mhm.
So than it is to try to mine. Because when you try to mine, it's a big, heavy expense. It really is.
Okay.
JL, I have a question for you. You know, the Chinese are making a great inroads into Africa. You know, a lot of these African leaders are basically selling the country away, you know, and Chinese, they can come in there and they can have a whole city up and running in like about 10 years. South Africa seems to have resisted, and the Chinese influence doesn't seem to be, at least from where I'm looking, as big down there. So the question is kind of like, you know, they've got the money, they got people, they've got know-how, they can come in and do something quick, you know. But how do we kind of get their assistance without losing the whole country to China?
Well, it's like China and America have been partners forever. There's no mystery.
Right, no mystery.
America's biggest trading partner in South Africa is China. So there's no mystery there. A lot of Trojan horses in Africa. They come in to say they're going to help, and they do help. They help themselves. Politically, it's been devastating, and that's improving because people realize that you know, some of the things that Africans won't do, Chinese will do. And they came in, they build a 300-mile road. They take all the gravel off of the road. And I could have Chinese clients, so I'm going to turn no money down, but international businessmen. So I'm not talking about them as a culture or group. I'm just saying some people that come here are unscrupulous. They do some really horrid things like build a 300-mile highway to service different people with infrastructure. And if you take up the gravel on your way 300 kilometers, they're gravel. So Mike Shoma, what do you think's in the gravel? They spent $300 million on a 300-mile highway. So you tell me what you think is in that gravel that they go 6 meters down to put an infrastructure. What do you think's in the gravel?
Probably some of everything, some diamonds, some you know, some
Is there
iron ore,
gravel?
some
So, I mean, what else can I say?
tungsten.
Duh, 100%. And they find out because this technology invented by Microsoft, they can tell you 12 miles in the ground what's in it. There's no mystery. If we can get out of the street fighting and talking about I'm black and I'm proud and this, that, and the other, and I don't have any problems with that, but I'm an old school boy. I came with Africa with Republican black men from Oklahoma and Cleveland, by the way, who were only, they were oil boys, cattle farmers. So I got a different point of view. You know, I spent a lot of the time trying to prove I was something that I realized I wasn't. And when I found something that I could do besides, and you guys know the guys I'm talking about, when they came to Africa, their family's been here since the 60s in the oil business. They weren't thinking about nothing but making money.
Okay.
Yeah, I know this isn't there.
So
The lady, there's a lady that's like the richest oil person on the continent, isn't it? I forget her name, but she's
Santos.
Santos.
Yeah, I think that's her last name.
I don't know. It's hard to say. Who would claim they're the richest? Who would actually say that? Only Americans do that. Nobody else talk about how much money they have. In fact, the person with the largest money looks like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that? I just have to run and get my juice.
Okay.
The person that has the most money in the world look like me and you because they had it first.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, people, but you know my story. I thought I had it next to me, but I'm getting it out of my cooler. So that's one of the things like Halliburton. Remember Halliburton? Halliburton was involved with Iraq War. They're the ones that came behind to clean up the mess. How much money do you think that was? You think that was a lot of money? I don't think we had anybody in that Yeah, and some other people,
That was Dick Cheney's company, right?
you know, when, um,
Yeah, Dick Cheney, yeah.
you remember when Ron Brown flew people to South Africa? Look, this is not a political show, and I don't want to get into politics. It might affect my bottom line and my business. I'm just saying, when people want to invest, I look at a lot of TV here, and I see some of our amazing, amazing celebrities with their alcohol and their cigars and their Ferraris. If I got $1 million from each one,
Look like everybody froze. But me.
and put in a safekeeping account with grandkids. Yeah, so they don't even have to give it to me. They give it to somebody else. So it's just amazing how much opportunity is here. When Ron Brown flew to South Africa for the first time, he had only 2 black businessmen on the airplane. That's not a mystery. And this is not a racial conversation. However, Robert Vaughn, the 2 were 2 Americans, and they were from Cleveland. They were the only ones that could pass the FBI record. And if you got arrested during the civil rights and you were a big businessman, you couldn't get on that plane.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, let me ask you about this. Talk about IT for a little bit with some of the time we got left. What's the business prospects or the business opportunities?
You see this? This is just like home, huh? I still use a jar. It's the most reliable.
Mason jar.
I'm still a homeboy.
Okay.
And they sell these things for about $2. You know that? $2 for a blank jar that mama used to throw at us when we come home late.
Yeah.
Are you saying?
Talk about IT for a little bit. What are some of the IT opportunities? You know, data and related services. I guess South Africa seems to be pretty up to date on a lot of things. So I would imagine a lot of opportunities with IT related business probably exist outside of South Africa.
Myself and about 5 other people. One of the reasons I was in Dubai, I am working. Well, we actually was launching, man. We were ready to rock and roll just before COVID. We, meaning myself and people that are involved in coding. Dr. Santos from Dubai. She's a Filipino. Family are former ambassadors to the Philippines. She's an ophthalmologist. We got people from Dubai, former Air Force general. We got people that started coding in Belgium and Sweden. My South African partner, she was a part of South African IT infrastructure here. And we started the African ICT Initiative. Coding schools. And why I got so hot on the trail of ICT training and coding schools is my partner, Thelma Opal, who I met at a film. I was on a film with her son. She asked me what I did and she laughed. I was like, "You don't do that." I said, "Yes, I do." So we were talking about coding schools. And we're talking about a product that we manufacture in Taiwan that supplies energy. When I come to the US, I want to sell it online. I'm looking for FEMA to buy it. www.powertabtech.com. So we were going to put my device in all of these schools because in some of the rural areas, there's no power, as I've indicated before. So our power will power laptops, cell phones, so on and so forth. And so while we were putting the program together, I was asking, what are coding schools? And I thought I was into IT. So she told me what coding was and why Africa needs more coding schools, because if a manufacturer comes to any part of Africa who wants to set up a factory, they need critical mass. They need people that are trained in coding because you need a factory. This is technology. I'm like, wow. So her partner is a young lady from Lagos. She told me that one of her students helped Uber do their platform. Now, she's a South African talking to someone in Lagos about a coding school. And everything that I'm talking about, well, there's that Cleveland voice, what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is involving hardware and software, apps, application. So this young lady has a coding school in Nigeria. She got a call from you know who and asked her, how much money do you need? She said, I don't know. He said, okay, I'll send you a blank check, figuratively speaking. And I heard that. Then I got motivated because the person who wants to spend money opening coding schools to teach Africans, because he has a bigger dynamic on the largest social media platform in the world, whose satellite went up in the air and was disposed of by the time it got 10 miles outside the Earth airspace. He offered her, how much do you need? So this Black boy from Cleveland got motivated to get into ICT. Even though it's a nonprofit scenario, you create jobs, you bring in people from all parts of the world to help these young boys and girls learn how to use laptops. You got businesses, military, you know, in Cleveland, everyone in the police car has a laptop. And in Africa, South Africa, you don't have a signal that strong to keep your laptop pumping because you run out of power. So we set up infrastructure to teach police, military, businesses how to use their laptop and how to set up a grid to find other policemen. So that's a big business here. And people that know IT, you know, Microsoft and some of the other companies, they send millions of dollars worth of technology here. If you bring me an airplane, it's going to sit until I learn how to fly it, isn't it? Yes, sir.
But tell me, how is that how the technology got so advanced there, bringing in other people to train these people? Because, you know,
Well,
a lot of times, you know, we hear about, and this is on the negative side, but, you know, it's still in existence as far as the Nigerians that are hacking through different computer systems and, you know, creating these fraud things and bilking people out of money and stuff, you know, through the computer systems.
Are you
they're
saying
doing
that
that in America.
they seem to be pretty savvy, Mike? Is that your point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Nigeria is a different place. That's one country out of 50. And while I may agree with you, just remember, a lot of those boys operate out of America. Artists are in Europe and America, South America. So on that subject, if I might say, technology in this part of the world is still in the hands of those people that actually use it for business. Many of the rural areas, like 90% of the rural areas, don't have Wi-Fi. They don't even have a signal. And I was a myth when I found out that in parts of the United States, they don't have Wi-Fi or signals. When I heard that the president wants to put Wi-Fi in certain communities, I was shocked. I'm like, really? So while I may agree with your point, there have been a lot of people harmed. The technology they buy in America and Europe and Taiwan and China because they don't mind getting on a plane flying to get it. So the biggest focus for me, because South Africa still needs coding schools, they need ICT training. You know, my youngest gets into high school and a lot of the kids don't even know how to switch on their laptop and take a screenshot. And that's one of the more elementary things. So a laptop sometimes are cheaper than these cell phones that every kid has. But having a cell phone puts you on Facebook and Instagram. That's it. So as you know, my other businesses, I'm in the film industry, TV commercials. Everyone around me has, I mean, I've performed in front of drones. they got little computers and cameras. Sometimes the director is sitting on the floor next to me. I'm not allowed to look at them, but they can see what you see, and they're cutting and splicing with modern 21st century technology. And a lot of America and Europe and South America, they come to South Africa to film. Their movies and TV shows are done here. In fact, on the weekend, I got another series, Verl, that they're releasing this week. You remember that mystery called American Monster? They released it this weekend. Yeah.
Okay.
So the technology is available. However, it's not available like it would be in the US, because you can buy anything in the United States that you want. And so if you want to get into IT, like one of the reasons I want to come back to the US is to set up a distribution network online for our product, the portable wall plug for laptops. Because, you know, when there's snowstorms, tornadoes, anything to do with disasters, the phones are off. Laptops are down. There's no power for mobile technology for months, right? For weeks. So our device would supply that power. And the online service there is amazing. However, here, we tried to do it just before COVID and got beat up because they don't have a money app. They don't have apps here because all the apps are controlled by one company. And unlike it is in the US, because you can buy anything you want. You know, if someone has to send you money, you can't send it by Google, WhatsApp, all those. There's like 20 different money apps. I was talking to the moderator about. I was asking him when we redo our website, we need to make it more contemporary, more European, because it's very African now. But the brothers in other parts of Africa, they can't buy it. Because there's no methodology to sell it to them. And that's coming.
Mhm.
So
Do
I
you
would
think
like
that's-
FEMA and organization. Sorry?
Now, do you think that may be a reason why, and this is probably a subject for another show, but a reason why cryptocurrency is more widely used in many African countries and most other parts of the world, include the United
Correct.
States? Yeah, okay.
That's right. I would guarantee that's why, because
Okay.
I like to put it on our website when we start selling the product. It's made in Taiwan.
Mhm.
It sells for under $550. It's got a 24-month warranty. And if I sell it online, I got obviously do quantities because we want to sell to disaster relief organizations. We're not really interested in doing one and one and one, because if you've been checking the news, shipping rates have gone up 10 times. What used to cost us $3,000 now costs, what's 10 times 3? That's how much it costs, $20,000+ to ship from China to the US. That's expensive. Our product comes from Taiwan because there's no infrastructure.
So what you want to do is you want to manufacture it where you sell it. You know, I somebody sent me something the other day that I reposted on Facebook and said that, you know, if there's no product backlog for products made in America. I mean, there's no shipping backlog. So, you know, if you make your product where it's going to be sold and where it's going to be used, then I think you eliminate a lot of those issues. And this seems to be the way things are going. Would you agree with that or not?
I can take a minute to comment on that because I see your time is wasting. I do apologize. So I just want to say this to you. The same problem that Europe, America, South America, South Africa, Nigeria has is all the artisans are old as you guys. All the factories that make hardware components are not as big as the ones in China and Taiwan. So to your point, like David Chappelle says, we don't want to work. America don't want to make those parts because if they make it in America, it's going to cost $9,000 for an iPhone. It don't cost $9,000 in China. So well, those dynamics have to change because you still need critical mass. You don't find Americans younger than we are into hardware manufacturing. That's a
Yeah, they don't want to work.
specialized industry. Well, why would someone want to work if they haven't been socialized to make it? When you wake up in China or Taiwan, you go into a factory to make technology. You're not going to rap and play basketball. It's a whole nother dynamic. So we didn't teach our children construction. Nothing.
Right.
None of Mike's kids, and I say this off the record, can set up a bakery. He probably beats them to teach them how to make a donut. But none of us have taught our children a trade. We sent them to school to be lawyers, doctors, scientists. They got out of the business that sent them there.
Yeah,
right?
one of his daughters does have a bakery in Texas, I believe.
Right on. There you
Food's
go.
pretty
How
good
many?
too, from what I hear.
Okay, so how many is that? One out of, he's got like 17 kids, him and Holyfield. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they have, they've done good, they're nurses.
but what's the point though? But what's the point? The point is, you send them off to get a profession. We're talking about manufacturing. If you talk about manufacturing something, you still need someone that knows how to do it.
Right.
Just because you got 2 billion people in Africa, so what? They don't know. You can't build. I used to get into that fight with some investors. Well, we got all those people over there. We got labor. I'm like, no, you don't.
Right.
Critical mass means engineers can work, contractors, doors, windows. That's all cash and revenue streams. So if you're going to build and restore 40,000 beds, you need bedrooms for students. You need plaster, paint. You need engineers. You need architects. So that's the supply side. And the supply side is what will put America back to work and to put South Africa back to work. Because South Africa chose tourism over manufacturing. Because one tourist creates 8 jobs. That's like, cool. Now, nobody's working. And everybody can't work in a restaurant to please a tourist. So houses are not moving as fast. So you want to make some money? Let's stop crying. Put your money in an escrow account. We'll get a sovereign guarantee, and we start building houses because we have people to work. People want to work.
Okay. And
we
Gail,
can
just
teach
for
people
our
these trades,
listening friends, how can people contact you? Say if I'm interested in maybe find out a little bit more. Say I have a company that manufactures seat covers or car tires or wheels. I manufacture truck wheels. How can they contact you in terms of being able to facilitate doing business in Africa, in South Africa or other parts of the country?
Well, listen, it's just really easy to give my email address, which they can get from you, or davenport.jl@gmail. I use that because everyone has that access to Gmail or Hotmail. They're both the same. I want something that I can use all the time. Sometime when I'm in a particular area, I may not be able to get a private server, so I use those. And when we get into contracts, then I use a personal one that's encrypted. I don't know if I would get into tires because Kia, you can't beat Kia and Hyundai. They'll destroy you trying to sell tires in their market. I know that was just an example. So I don't know that, but there are a lot of areas that people that got hard currency want to make some money. This is the place to be. I want to tell you, you go into Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe needs dollars. They got all the minerals that you want to need. Now, you can't buy something that you don't have a customer for.
So tell me, the investment, would that be in the classification of risk capital?
It's only risk capital if you give it to somebody who don't know what to do with it. I do it this way. you can call it risk capital, but you build in your risk because of the way you're doing business here. For example, we got $50 million. We start developing property, and the money goes into an account, and you use the sovereign guarantee to raise the capital. And the government here will give you half of your money when you start developing and building. So your risk is limited to 12 months. So every time you get 100 houses built, you get your money. It's not like you're going to start mining and start digging dirt. You don't know what you're going to get out of it.
Okay. So the person buying the property would be the government.
Well, they're buying it. Well, what they do is they give a bond or mortgage to the buyer. The buyers get approved for a mortgage, say for $50,000. And that's the first money, because when our clients want to start construction, we have to build 100 houses in order to get access to that $50,000, which means the risk is doing the infrastructure, but the bank takes the money and gives you a guaranteed customer. And the guaranteed customer says, if you put services in, you put in a curb, put in a sewer, we'll give you the money.
Okay.
So you add that into your cost, and they give you your money up front. It's called you are developing it on your bond or your mortgage.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's not rocket science.
Okay. All right. Well,
did I answer your question?
yeah, you did. You did. Well, I've definitely learned something today about doing business in South Africa and other countries on the African continent. And probably the most important thing I learned is to contact Davenport JL at gmail.com.
Davenport.jl at Gmail. Well, you have it, yeah.
Davenport.jl at gmail.com. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't care if it's harassing letters, but I won't give out my personal number unless somebody's interested, because people call me and ask me a lot of crazy questions. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, any closing remarks, Mike or Burrow?
Or questions or
Questions, comments?
Well, I want to thank Jay for coming in and talking with us and our listeners. And everybody, just remember to like us and share this. And there's some people out there that need this information also. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, JL, thanks for coming on again. I hope we have you back soon, because I was going to ask you about some of the things like Akon and some of them other brothers are doing over there, and what your feelings on that were. But I know
that's
that
a whole show. That's a whole show.
Well, like I said, I mentioned the illuminating company, since you boys are from Cleveland. Imagine telling them you're not getting any more money because we're gonna use solar. Yeah, right. How's that gonna work? They're gonna tax you heavy.
Well, I understand that if you have solar power, you have to actually sell it to the illuminating company, and then they'll you know.
There you go. That's called a levy.
Yeah. Okay.
Maintain that stuff.
Okay. Well,
you have to maintain solar. Solar needs maintenance. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, hey, we want to thank you for watching, and we thank you for.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We appreciate you. We want to ask you to, like Mike said, please like us and share. Let's Talk Radio on Facebook and also on YouTube. So
my father used to call me a punk when I say, I want you to like me. He said, you don't need nobody to like you. But it's different times now. My father called me a punk in a minute. You don't like me.
Yeah. It's, like us.
You don't like me.
Yeah. Like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube and share us on Facebook and YouTube. So this is Robert.
Great stuff.
Thanks for watching. JL, we thank you.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'm sure we're going to have you back before too long. So have a great.
All right. Thank you. R.I.P. to Colin Powell. Sorry for Colin Powell.
Okay. R.I.P. Okay.
Cheerio. Thanks, guys. Cheerio.
Thank you.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Mm.